Welcome back to the Smack It Show. Recently we've been talking a lot about moments that made you quit watching wrestling, and today's focus is TNA. For many of you, it would be the night that AJ Styles left after having a horrible match with Magnus. But in my opinion, there was another night that was just as harmful to the TNA viewer, and it was someone else leaving the company. And it wasn't them leaving that was really the issue here. Actually, most people were quite happy about that part. It was the manner in which he left the company, where he completely embarrassed and devalued the show. I'm of course talking about the Hulkster brother. This was not like when AJ Styles left, who actually had one foot out the door anyway at the time of this show. Yeah, not a good few months for TNA right here. So let's get on with this episode of Impact from October 2013. It starts out with that very man AJ Styles who's going for his emo stage. The storyline here is that AJ Styles' contract is up and the Hulkster wants him to re-sign, but Dixie only wants him if he joins Team Dixie. The plot twist is that AJ Styles has a contract for a world title shot despite his no TNA contract status. So he either wins the world title or he loses and he's gone from TNA. AJ is a lone wolf and he's with no one. It was actually a pretty exciting storyline which shook up AJ Styles' character, which had admittedly got a little bit samey. In hindsight, if this wasn't the lead up to AJ Styles leaving TNA for good, people would still be talking about how great this storyline was and comparing it to the Summer of Punk done correctly. There were lots of shoot promos in TNA at the time and they were using terminology about burying people and cutting shoots. AJ swears here that he's going to take the world title from Bully Ray, who is the leader of the Aces and Eights. His threats are interrupted by the leader of the Aces and Eights, Bully Ray, and his girlfriend Brooke. She was really something. Rumour has it that these shorts are still in Mike Tenay's personal knicker collection to this day. It's a good Bully Ray promo where he basically accuses AJ Styles of being scared of the future if he doesn't win. Bubba lists all his recent accomplishments. Does TNA get enough credit for this man as a main eventer? He could almost be classed as a homegrown main eventer because his singles run would never have happened without TNA. Bubba says he wants to take AJ away from the fans. Well, give it a couple of months and that would actually come true. It was kinda hard to comprehend TNA without Styles at this time. Frustratingly for TNA fans, this was also the time when AJ Styles started being able to cut better promos. Styles tells Bully that he's facing Samoan Joe tonight, so he better focus. It's an excellent start to the show. It not only hyped the world title match between Bully Ray and Styles, but it also created a main event for this episode of Impact, and it furthered AJ Styles' new Lone Wolf character. Taz looks like a gone-off spud as he fears for Bully's safety against Samoan Joe tonight. Styles and Dixie meet backstage. She tells him she doesn't care about his health because he doesn't have a contract in TNA anymore. She wants her security team to throw him out of the building, but he leaves on his own accord. Austin Aries joins the commentary desk for a tag match. The first team is Kenny King and Crisp Sabin with Velvet Sky. My poor poster is still lying shredded on the floor after the last episode. I can't even tell if it's an ass cheek or a foot at this point. They're facing Manic, who was formerly the man obsessed with trying to take his own life. Jeff Hardy being his partner shocked me. I bet he was dumping in his nappy all the way back to North Carolina about wrestling in an X Division opening match. Kenny King and Manic Depressive start. Chris Sabin is a heel because he's rubbing his real-life girlfriend Velvet Sky into the fans' faces. He's got a lot more cocky since he won and lost the world title. Velvet isn't really happy of his recent actions. Manic does a really dumb spot where he grabs Sabin's arm and slowly runs up the ropes and dives on King with a head scissors. It literally does nothing to Sabin and the whole thing looks stupid. I have no problem with moves like this when they're fast and athletic enough to make it look good. This did not look good. Jeff Harvey gets the tag. He hits a middle rope splash to King for a 2. Kenny King squares up to Austin Aries and he better focus on the match. The commentary team keep talking about a big segment tonight where Hogan will tell Dixie Carter if he's joining Team Dixie or not. Austin Aries says we need to focus on this match. Sabin puts Manic in a tree of woe and uses his nutsack to help fix his boot. Kenny King is just full of himself in this match. Manic hits a middle rope missile dropkick to the back of Sabin's meathead. Manic finally makes the hot tag to Jeff Harvey. He gets a 2 on a front suplex. Sabin breaks up a twist of fate on King, who does a Northern Lights with a pin getting broken up. King is sent into Sabin on the apron and Manic hits double knees to King. Jeff Hardy hits the Swanton Bomb, which will have no complaints to Shannon later in the night because that's the 3. A fun opening match. For a second, I thought I was supposed to be watching a bad show and I thought, hang on, this was actually pretty good. No, we're just here for the Hulkster brother. I've watched so much bad shows lately. Chris Sabin is a bad loser and attacks the faces. He dumps his nappy of fear and runs away from Austin Aries. A-Double announces a 4-way X Division title match featuring everybody except Kenny King. This was a bit dumb because it made you think that Aries is the X Division champion, but it's actually the depressed guy obsessed with taking his own life. Jeff Hardy interrupts as he has a better idea. He wants to have an Ultimate X at Bound for Glory. Unfortunately for Jeff, Chris Sabin will win that match and dash his dreams. In the back, another depressed couple of people are the Hulkster and the Icon Sting. Hulk is sad because he has a big decision to make tonight. Wise words from Hogan, who says when you get drunk with power, it doesn't end well. He didn't think anyone could be worse than Bischoff until he met Dixie Carter. These two old rivals, Hogan and Sting, are now the best of friends, sitting here like old men in their council flats on their £5 charity shop sofas with springs sticking out of them. Seriously, TNA, where did you find these two? The sofas, not Hogan and Sting. Someone walks in with a gift for Hogan from Dixie. Hogan thinks it's a coffin. Sting sounds jealous and keeps asking what's in the box. It turns out it's a watch that Dixie Carter offered to Sting last year. I like how we barely get to see the watch because it's probably from the same place they got the chairs from. Everybody on this show looks like they've spent way too long on sunbeds. We get a recap now of how the main event Mafia 2.0 have been feuding with the Ego Group. Magnus has been attacked and wants to face the group all on his own. His skin also looks freshly burned. That match is up next, a 3-on-1 gauntlet. Christopher Daniels will start the match against Magnus. This goes on for a while, but it's not very exciting. Daniels fails on the Angel's wings. Magnus hits a clothesline and tries to fly, but he's stopped, and Daniels crushes his arm on the ropes. Daniels attempts a BME, which is blocked by a Magnus boot, and he puts Daniels away with the Michinoku driver. Next up in the gauntlet is Frankie Kazarian. Frankie hits a big kick, and it's not looking good for Magnus. Magnus turns it around and hits his diving elbow drop, which isn't enough to beat Kaz. Magnus tries another dive, but this time he's kicked off the top rope. Kaz attempts to hit Fade to Black, which Magnus reverses into a cloverleaf and Kaz taps out. Bobby Roode is the only man left. He fairly quickly beats Magnus with an ankle lock, which isn't really that interesting. The interesting part actually happens after the match. Magnus basically throws a tantrum about his loss. He was on a mission to prove that he belongs in the main event Mafia, but he failed. Father figure Steve Borden comes out to comfort him. Aldish refuses to calm down and he starts crying. His face swells up as tears start to fall across his red skin. He doesn't believe he's as good as the rest of the Mafia members. Sting thinks that he needs a big match to put him on the map like he had with Flair when he was younger. Sting offers to fight Magnus at Bound for Glory. As you can tell, the Aces and Eights were almost done at this point as main event Mafia 2.0 had gotten so bored that they'd started fighting themselves instead. Really strange segment now where Austin Aries has joined the miserable Hulkster. He has got him a present, which turns out to be a pot of perks. Aries believes that these will help Hogan come to the right decision tonight. I'm sure everyone working on this show was sharing these pills. Aries looks like one of Hogan's miserable children sitting on the couch with him. These pills cause Hogan to say, "I now get it." In the back, Chris Sabin in a headband says he isn't worried about Velvet Sky's match tonight and he won't be at ringside for it. In the Ego dressing room, they're celebrating beating Magnus at the third time of asking. Daniels laughs about Magnus crying. They're all doing cringy fake acting as they tell Bobby Roode that next week he'll be inducted into the Ego Hall of Fame. All three of these guys, you could just tell that they knew this company was screwed at this point and they were just kind of having fun in there and not really caring what they said. It actually made them all more likeable. We have a knockouts match now to decide which woman will get a title shot at Bound for Glory. Brooke and her booty shorts take on Velvet Sky in a match where everyone should be a winner. Except no, it's ruined because Lady Tapper debuts and beats up Velvet Sky. She is the niece of the Barbarian and nobody cares about her. Brooke runs away and leaves, and normally I'd say I hate to see her go but I love to watch her leave, but the cameraman doesn't even do his job right. Tapper screams unknown words at the crowd who are all frustrated that they didn't get to see this dream match take place. A video package plays hyping the debut of EC3, he's basically just showing off and putting everybody else down. Now there's a video package where they try to tell us that the team of Gunner and James Storm is actually as good as Beer Money was. All that's left is the main event between Samoa Joe and Bully Ray. It's a bad and pointless main event. Joe slowly beats him up whilst Bully comically screams. Bully tries to get DQ'd but Hebner takes the chain away. Bully uses that as an opportunity to smack him in the slash zone. We get a ref bump in this short match. Joe locks on the submission and Bully taps out, but no ref. Bully gets desperate and dives off the top with a chain shot to Joe's head, but Hebner catches him in the act and throws the match out. The TNA World Heavyweight Champion, ladies and gentlemen. His post-match attack is broken up by AJ Styles, who I thought had been sent home. Security chase him out the building and AJ Styles celebrates victoriously with his fans in the crowd. A really cool moment, but in hindsight, sort of a sad moment watching this back. All that's left is Hogan's big decision. Dixie Carter makes her way out. She's the heel authority figure, and despite everyone hating her on screen work, she pushed to become a character. She addresses the crowd and says they have no idea how to run a business, but somebody who does is the Hulkster. He limps out looking miserable. He hardly panders to his fans at all. Dixie is very happy that Hogan's decided to wear her second-hand watch. She thinks this means that he's accepting her offer to join her. She asks the Hulkster if he's ready to take a ride on the Dixie train, or if she's going to have to get rid of him.
Are you ready to take a ride on the Dixie train?
Hogan thanks her for the watch and says he's never had anything quite like this before, sounding sarcastic. Hogan says he's always had big dreams of being in a power couple in wrestling, but he can't accept her offer. He screams, "I quit," and walks away. Dixie charges after him up the ramp, begging and pleading. She blocks his path on the ramp, with Hogan desperately pushing past and Dixie Carter clinging on. She won't let go as she drops to her knees and he drags her along the ramp. Dixie is left on the ramp watching the Hulkster walk out of TNA. She rants and rambles at the camera that he's fired and she didn't want him anyway. The show goes off the air. And that ending right there is what caused this episode to be one of the most devastating in TNA history, because like the night that AJ Styles left, this one had the same effect, although for slightly different reasons. It made TNA look second-rate, seeing the owner of this company begging the almighty Hulkster to stay, like TNA couldn't exist without him. It presented an idea that with the Hulkster gone, TNA was screwed. After being in the company for 3.5 years, this is how he left. Not giving a rub to anyone, just making the show look incredibly stupid. I've seen plenty of wrestlers get buried by the company they were leaving, but I'm pretty sure this is the only time I ever saw this company buried by the wrestler on the way out. Because the way he left, it felt like TNA was done. It was finished. The whole segment was miserable, and AJ Styles leaving just after this was a double punch to the gut. So let the Hawk know if this was the moment that you quit watching the show and how you would have handled Hogan leaving the show differently. How could they have done this better? Did this make it feel like the company was dying to you? Because it sure did to me, and if you don't agree with that, I'll beat you until you see.
Just let me go. Okay, Dixie.